Oh, today's mini move is going to answer an important question for writers. And that question is, what do professional writers do to cite their sources? Where are their parenthetical MLA citations and their works cited and their bibliographies on the New York Times, for example, or AV Club or The Ringer or any of our other favorite sites? How do professional writers cite their sources? And is it the same way that we do in school? Today's mini move is hyperlinked citation. So let's look at an example of hyperlinked citation in an op-ed by Margaret Wrinkle, writing for the New York Times. She writes, Mr. Doris died in late 2020. He left $5 million to his dog. He also left a small building and a flag display to the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Everything else, including the forest statue, goes to the Battle of Nashville Trust, a historic preservation group. Last month, the statue was removed unexpectedly. According to a statement from the trust, it was, quote, ugly and a blight on Nashville, unquote, and detracted from the trust's mission. So Margaret Wrinkle, in her op-ed, clearly did some research. She did some research on this Mr. Doris, who apparently owned some Confederate memorabilia. She did some research on his will, how much money he left to his dog, to whom he left other items. She also did some research about one of the statues being removed from its final resting place and a statement from the group who removed it. So in English class, right, Margaret Wrinkle should have a lot of parenthetical citation about all the sources that she went to get this information, to find out this research, and especially to cite that quotation from the trust that the statue was ugly and a blight on Nashville. But when we look at this paragraph, we don't see that. And that's because, guess what? Real writers don't often cite the way that we cite in English class. Yes, if they are writing an academic paper, they absolutely do. And if they are writing an academic book, say you're writing a book on Shakespeare, there would be citation of that kind. But when you're writing for a web audience, which so many of us are these days, what writers do instead is they hyperlink their citation. So look at these little bits of blue text that are underlined. These are hyperlinks. And if I click them, they take me to another site altogether. So if I click, he left $5 million to his dog, it's going to take me to this other news article, which is where Margaret Wrinkle got her information, okay? So this is how she's saying, this is where I got this information. I got this information from this article. I got this information from this article. I got this information from this article. And she's doing it in such a beautiful, slick way that we don't have to sort through parentheses and last names and publication years and all of that kind of information. It's even better than that, because if we want to know about the original research she did, all we have to do is click and we can read it ourselves. Now, let me give you some tips for doing this if you are writing on a computer at all. The way that you hyperlink is you highlight a couple of words that relate to the research you got. So notice she did not highlight this entire sentence. He left $5 million to his dog. She just highlights a couple of those words. $5 million to his dog is the research she got. So she highlighted that. She pressed Control K, and then she pasted in the URL of the article where she got that information. She did the same here. The statue was removed. Well, that's the information that she got from her source. So those are the words that she highlights and turns into a hyperlink. The statement from the trust is what she researched and got information on. And so that's what she hyperlinks. And this is really important that Margaret Wrinkle only chooses a couple of words, because that way we're not reading a whole paragraph of underlined blue words. That would be hard on our eyes. That would also be distracting to the reader. She's giving us a really targeted bit of information. This is the information I received from my source, and this is the source. You can go get it yourself. If I scroll to the bottom of your article, guess what? There's no works cited page. There's no bibliography. There is simply more and more hyperlinks that take us directly to the place where she got this information. So in your writing, where have you gotten a little bit of information or a little bit of research that you really ought to cite, but you don't feel like getting into the nitty-gritty of MLA parenthetical citation? Where could you instead highlight just a couple of words that reflect the research you got and instead create a hyperlink back to that original source? Where in your writing can you kind of create a map like this, like Margaret Wrinkle did, a map of her research through carefully, intentionally placed hyperlinks throughout her document? It's such a fun, easy, slick way to do this, to make sure that sources are cited, to make sure that research is acknowledged without having to create huge bibliographic entries. Good luck and enjoy using hyperlinked citation. Make sure that you are subscribed to Mini Moves for Writers so that you don't miss a single lesson.